Los Angeles, March 1953. Frank Sinatra sat in a booth at Musso and Frank Grill on Hollywood Boulevard. Alone. Nursing a drink he couldn't really afford. 2 years ago, he'd been the biggest star in America. Screaming teenage girls, sold-out shows, movie contracts, the voice that made women faint. Now, nothing. His record label had dropped him. Columbia Records said his voice was past its prime. He was 37 years old. His movie studio had canceled his contract. MGM said he wasn't bankable anymore. His TV show had been canceled after one season. CBS, low ratings. His wife Ava Gardner had left him. Said she couldn't watch him self-destruct. His bank account was nearly empty. The IRS was after him for back taxes. He owed $150,000 he didn't have. Frank Sinatra was broke, finished, washed up, and he needed help. Dean Martin walked into Musso and Frank at 7 p.m., right on time. Frank had called him that morning. "Dean, can we talk, in person?" Dean and Frank had known each other for 3 years. Not close friends yet, but friendly. They'd performed at the same venues, crossed paths at parties, respected each other's work. Dean was doing well. His partnership with Jerry Lewis was making them both rich. Movies, TV, radio, live shows. The Martin and Lewis comedy team was the hottest act in entertainment. He slid into the booth across from Frank. "Hey, Pally, you look terrible." Frank tried to smile, couldn't quite manage it. "I feel terrible." Dean ordered a drink, waited, let Frank find the words. Finally, Frank spoke. "I need to ask you something, and it's killing me to ask." "Ask?" "I need money." Dean didn't react, just listened. "Not a lot." "Well, actually, a lot. $50,000. Frank looked down at his hands. This was the hardest thing he'd ever done. "The IRS is coming after me. If I don't pay them, they're going to take everything. My house, my car, everything." "Why me?" Frank looked up. "What? Why are you asking me? You know a lot of people, rich people, people who owe you favors." Frank was quiet for a moment. "Because everyone else sees me as an investment that failed. You're the only person who might see me as something else." "What's something else?" "A friend, maybe. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here, Dean." Dean took a sip of his drink, thought about it. "You ever pay back money you borrowed before?" "Always, every time. I don't like owing people." "Good. Because I don't like being owed." Frank's eyes lit up with hope. "So you'll lend it to me?" "No." The hope died. Frank slumped back. "I'm not going to lend it to you," Dean continued. "I'm going to invest it in you." "What's the difference?" "A loan is something you pay back out of obligation. An investment is something you pay back out of success." Frank didn't understand. Dean leaned forward. "Frank, you're at rock bottom right now. I get it. I've been there. Not as famous as you, so nobody noticed. But I've been broke. I've been desperate. I've wondered if I'd ever work again." "How'd you get out of it?" "Someone believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Someone took a chance on me. Someone invested." "Who?" "Doesn't matter. What matters is, I'm going to do the same for you." Dean pulled out a checkbook, started writing. Frank watched. "Dean, wait. What are the terms?" "No terms." "There have to be terms. Interest rate, payment schedule, something." Dean tore out the check. $50,000. Slid it across the table. "Here are the terms. You take this money. You pay off the IRS. You get back on your feet. And when you're successful again, not if, when, you pay me back. With interest if you want. Without interest if you don't. I don't care about the money, Frank. I care about seeing you succeed." Frank stared at the check. "This is too much." "It's exactly enough." "Dean, I can't." "You can. And you will. But here's the thing, Frank. This isn't charity. This is an investment. And I expect a return." "What kind of return?" "Your friendship, your respect, and most importantly, you staying in this business. Because if you quit, if you give up, then I lose my investment. Not the money, but the chance to see what you're capable of when you're not fighting for survival." Frank's eyes were wet. "Why are you doing this?" Dean smiled. "Because I know something you don't know right now." "What?" "You're not finished. You're not washed up. You're not over. You're just between chapters. And the next chapter, it's going to be bigger than anything you've done before. You can't know that. I can, because I've seen you perform. I've heard your voice, and I know talent when I see it. You've got something, Frank. Something special, something that doesn't just disappear because you had a bad year or two. Frank picked up the check, looked at it, looked at Dean. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just promise me something. What? When you make it back, and you will, you do the same thing for someone else. You invest in someone who's down. You believe in someone who stopped believing in themselves. You pass it forward. Frank nodded. Couldn't speak, just nodded. They shook hands. Frank paid off the IRS the next day. Then he did something nobody expected. He went to an acting coach, learned how to actually act, not just play himself. He auditioned for a role in a movie called From Here to Eternity. A small part, supporting role. Nobody wanted him, but Frank fought for it. Took a tiny salary, $8,000 for the whole film, less than he used to make for one show. He got the part. He gave the performance of his lifetime. In 1954, Frank Sinatra won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. His career exploded. Again, but this time, bigger. Albums, movies, concerts, the Rat Pack, Vegas residencies. By 1960, Frank Sinatra was the biggest star in America. Again. But he hadn't forgotten. One night in 1968, 15 years after that conversation at Musso and Frank, Dean was performing at the Sands Hotel in Vegas. After the show, someone knocked on his dressing room door. Frank walked in, holding an envelope. Got a minute? For you, always. Frank handed him the envelope. What's this? Open it. Dean opened it. Inside was a check, $100,000. Dean looked at Frank. What's this for? It's your return on investment. $50,000 principal, $50,000 interest. Frank, I didn't want interest. I know, but I wanted to give it, because that that investment, it saved my life, not just my career. My life. Dean tried to hand the check back. Keep it. You earned it. No, you earned it. You believed in me when nobody else did, when I didn't believe in myself. You invested in me. This is your return. Dean looked at the check, then at Frank. On one condition. What condition? You promise me you've passed it forward, that you've helped someone else the way I helped you. Frank smiled. I have, 3 times. Who? Sammy Davis Jr., when he lost his eye in that car accident and couldn't work. I paid his hospital bills and living expenses for 6 months. I didn't know that. That's because I learned from you. You don't do this for credit. You do it because it's right. Who else? A young comedian named Don Rickles. Nobody would hire him. Said he was too insulting. I got him gigs. Vouched for him. Now he's headlining. And the third? Frank's face got serious. A jazz musician named Ella Fitzgerald, black woman in the 1950s trying to break into white venues. Nobody would book her. I called in favors, made some threats, got her into the best clubs in L.A. Now she's selling out everywhere. Dean smiled. You did good, Pally. I learned from the best. They hugged. Dean looked at the check again. Frank, I'm keeping this. Not because I need it, but because it represents something important. What? Proof that investing in people works, that believing in someone can change their life, that friendship matters more than money. It does. But I'm also going to do what you did. I'm going to pass it forward, find someone who needs help, someone who stopped believing, and I'm going to invest in them. That's perfect. Over the next 20 years, Dean and Frank's friendship became legendary. The Rat Pack, Vegas shows, movies, pranks, late nights, inside jokes. But the foundation of that friendship was that moment in 1953, when Frank needed help and swallowed his pride to ask for it, when Dean gave it without hesitation or conditions, when an investment became more than money. It became belief, respect, and friendship. In 1971, Frank was being interviewed for a magazine profile. The journalist asked about his comeback in the 1950s. Everyone talks about your Oscar for From Here to Eternity. How you went from washed up to winning an Academy Award. How did you do it? Frank was quiet for a moment. Dean Martin. The journalist waited for more. Dean gave me $50,000 when I was broke. But more importantly, he gave me something I'd lost. What? He gave me belief. He told me I wasn't finished. He told me the next chapter would be bigger than anything before. And he was right. Did you pay him back? With interest. But the real payment wasn't the money. It was staying in the business, succeeding, proving that his investment was worth it. Do you still think about that night? Every day. Because it taught me something important. What? That asking for help isn't weakness, it's courage. And giving help isn't charity, it's investment. You're investing in someone's potential, in their future, in their belief that they can be better than they are right now. The journalist scribbled notes. And I've tried to pass that forward, Frank continued. I've helped people, not for credit, not for payback, just because someone did it for me once. And it saved my life. In 1977, Dean and Frank did a joint interview for 60 Minutes. Mike Wallace asked them about their friendship. You two have been friends for almost 25 years. What's the secret? Dean and Frank looked at each other, smiled. Frank spoke first. Mutual respect. Dean nodded. And trust. We trust each other. But it's more than that, Frank added. Dean saw me at my lowest point, rock bottom, and he didn't judge, didn't lecture, just helped. And that kind of thing, you never forget it. What did he do? Frank looked at Dean. Can I tell them? Dean shrugged. It's your story too. Frank told the story. The $50,000. The investment, not a loan. The comeback. The payback. Mike Wallace was surprised. This never came out before? We didn't talk about it, Dean said. Wasn't anybody's business but ours. Why talk about it now? Because maybe someone watching needs to hear it, Frank said. Maybe someone's at rock bottom right now, thinking they're finished, and they need to know that it's not over, that people will believe in you, that you can come back. And maybe, Dean added, someone watching has the means to help someone else, and they're wondering if they should. And the answer is yes, always yes. Invest in people, believe in them, give them a chance to prove they're better than their worst moment. When Frank Sinatra died in 1998, Dean had already passed 3 years earlier. At Frank's funeral, his daughter Nancy spoke about her father's generosity. My father helped a lot of people, quietly, without fanfare. He paid medical bills. He got people jobs. He believed in people when they stopped believing in themselves. She paused. And he learned that from Dean Martin. In 1953, when my father had nothing, Dean gave him everything. Not just money, but faith, belief, investment in his future. My father spent the rest of his life paying that forward, helping others, investing in people, because Dean Martin showed him how. That's the story of March 1953, when Frank Sinatra was broke and desperate and asked Dean Martin for help, when Dean didn't just give him money, he gave him belief, when a loan became an investment in a human being, and when that investment paid returns for 40 years. Not in money, in friendship, in loyalty, in mutual respect. Frank Sinatra's comeback is legendary. The fall from the top, the Oscar, the rebirth. But what people don't know is the man who made it possible, Dean Martin, who saw Frank at his lowest and said, "You're not finished," who gave without conditions, who invested without guarantees, who believed when nobody else did. That's not charity. That's not a loan. That's love disguised as business. That's friendship disguised as investment. That's the moment a 40-year bond was forged. Because Dean understood something simple but profound. The greatest return on investment isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in lives changed, friendships built, legacies created. Frank Sinatra paid back the money in 15 years, but he paid back the belief for the rest of his life. By succeeding, by helping others, by passing it forward, by being the friend Dean knew he could be. That's the real story of Frank Sinatra's comeback. It started with a man who believed in him, and it ended with a friendship that lasted until death. Dean Martin invested $50,000 in 1953. He got back $100,000 in 1968. But the real return? 40 years of friendship with one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived. That's an investment that paid dividends forever.